right now I'll kind of talk about this building stage that I am in. So I just finished the excavation. You know, I recommend, most people say, you know, get 3 quotes for everything, and it's kind of a pain to get quotes because you got to call people and remind them to come out, and then they're busy, and of course right now construction is booming, so it's hard to find anybody to come out. Finally do come out, and you gotta take their quote, try to get it in writing, try to get apples and apples. The quote will be, you'll tell them, quote me X, you know, and you try to be very specific when you give quotes, because what happens is you get the quote back and it's like completely different. This goes for all kinds of quotes, so try to write out exactly what you want in each quote. I also recommend, if you're gonna get, so most people recommend 3 quotes, I get like 5. Maybe the first 3 quotes you got were just terrible. The guys seem real shady, and or they're all really expensive, and so, you know, a lot of times I get 3 quotes, and my 4th and my 5th quote is like just the best quote ever. And I'm not saying price, I'm saying value. So they might be the most expensive, but they just have the experience and they're going to do a great job for me. So I recommend get like 5 quotes for everything you do. It takes some more time, but if you're really interested in value, that's the way you're going to get the best value. So I got contractor quotes for excavation. I did it for framing up and pouring the concrete. I got the best, I think probably the best concrete company in town was like, how much? They were like $200 more than the worst concrete company in town. So I totally went with them. They'll do a great job. Super pleased with them so far in my interactions. Of course, they haven't poured up the concrete, but I'm sure it'll be great. Everybody recommends them in town. So how do you get these subcontractors when you're contracting out yourself? So I went to the building supply stores, and we have like 6 in town. I mean, you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's. We have like BMC, All Pro, Gibbs, a whole bunch of them in town. And you go into these places, and they'll have a wall full of like cards, and you just grab all the cards for all the contractors you want. They got sheetrock and everything on there, and then you just call them up, and it's pretty easy. I also go to the counter and just ask them if they have any recommendations for people that are good in the area. So that's how I got my these 2 contractors. And then next after that would be framing. And so for framing, I called a bunch of people, and so it's kind of interesting with framers. Framers, most of them, it seems like, are used to working for like a contractor, and they just get paid by the hour. And so the whole idea of getting a bid for a custom house like this, which is kind of a remodel, they're gonna have to put some beams inside the existing structure, and they were a little nervous to give a quote. So most of them said, hey, I want 45 bucks an hour. And then some of them said, you know, you could do 36 an hour if you give me cash, like paper bills. So that seemed like a pretty good deal. And then I found a guy at my church, actually, and he does framing, and he does everything really, but he gave me a great quote. It was a little bit more, like $700 more than the framer I was going to go with, but I decided, you know and trust him, so I'd go with him, and been really happy working with him. You know, having somebody you trust is very valuable. If he was, you know, $3,000 more, then I'd probably go with the guy that I didn't know if I could trust him, but for 700 bucks, that's worth it to me. That's good value. So, yeah, that's how you get contractors. I put a very detailed request for quote together, and basically I downloaded a template offline. I just typed into Google like framing request for quote templates, and I edited it very specifically to my house. You know, I told them every door I was planning them installing, whether they're installing siding, what type of wrap goes on the house. So they'll frame the whole house, so that's like the stick-built structure of it all, and then they'll put in the windows, they'll put in the exterior doors, they'll wrap the house with a Tyvek wrap, and they'll sheet the whole outside of the house with either CDX or whatever you're using. So they really get you going, and so that gets me going a good way into this project, and the rest I feel real comfortable doing myself. Most things are pretty easy to fix. You make a plumbing mistake or something, it's pretty easy to fix it, because an inspector is going to look at it when it's in the wall. But if you make a foundation mistake or a structural mistake, you might not find out till the first big snowstorm or windstorm or something, and then things start falling apart, and then it's like impossible to fix. You got to start over. So I'm feeling pretty good about hiring out what I did. It also, I probably wouldn't want to spend months and months framing up a project like this, because it's going to be raining and everything's going to get wet, and it's going to take me like 3 times as long as a professional. So by hiring it out, I can get a roof on it pretty quick. I'll do the roofing and siding myself. So that's pretty much what I know about getting a framing contractor.
So here's my strategy for getting the best deal on building materials. First, make a very detailed list for each building stage of everything you need. Then I priced everything out at Amazon.com and on 2 building supply stores in town. I then took my list to Home Depot, and Home Depot has 2 different ways you can get a great deal with them. One is volume pricing, and basically you spend over $1,500 and they give you volume pricing. But an even better deal is you show them the quotes you got from the other building supply stores that were cheaper, and they'll beat those prices by 10%, which is an amazing deal. So you divide everything up into 2 groups. One, things that are cheaper at Home Depot, and then the other group, things that are cheaper at other places. So then the stuff that's cheaper at other places, Home Depot beats by 10%, and you get it at Home Depot. That's a great deal. And then the other stuff that's cheaper at Home Depot, you roll that into volume pricing, and usually it'll save you maybe 10% or something approximately, and so that's a great deal. So that's what I did to get a great deal on materials.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work.